Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, we have our weekly pod talks with Richu, and we're going to be talking about long-term diet mindset, which we know it's something that a lot of you guys are struggling with. A lot of our clients are struggling with. So we want to make this podcast to help you, to share our knowledge with you guys, give you some tips, because this is something that I personally used to struggle with, and I think Richu used to struggle with this as well. And it can be something that can be very challenging to change. But with the right guidance, you can make it happen. It's all about knowing what tools to use and implementing those tools to help you with that. But how are you, Richu? Thank you for joining us today once again here on a weekly podcast, Pod Talks.
Yeah, no, really well, actually. And I think that's really interesting as well, thinking about the long-term strategies really that we need to think of, right? For people that are stuck in that long-term dieting mindset. And it's really hard because we know that a goal such as weight loss, fat loss, even like a toning goal as well, to have that toned look, it doesn't take 12 weeks, right? It takes a much longer time. And some people can achieve that in 6 months, but the vast majority of people, it does, especially if you really are looking at a specific goal, right? It's going to take years. Okay. And now with that, it's not to say that we have to spend a lifetime or, a number of years in dieting and that's it, it's looking at the overall goal and thinking about maybe even adding in other things that make it feel like a more enjoyable journey. And there needs to be a period away from dieting. So even if your goal and your program and the work that you're looking for takes 1 to 3 years, it takes that length of time because there are habits that you are building. There are mini goals that you've got set up as well, but it doesn't mean that you have to be on this like diet mindset or this diet for that whole period. There will be times where you will, again, depending on the time of year as well, like especially when we're thinking about adding lean muscle or dropping, some of the body fat, after, a certain period of growth, for example. When we are trying to look for a specific look, I think mentally and physically, it will do you good to actually have a strategic plan in place with a mentor or a coach to work through that program, for a longer period and just adding in those bits, just to stop you feeling like diet, because diets fail, right? Diets do fail when we think about it, and we think about consistent habits as well. When people are fixated on just that as being the number one goal, there will come a time where you'll hit a brick wall and you'll go, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This, and then what happens, Daniela, is they go the other way. They go the other way and they start to overconsume and they become very unhappy and they think, oh my God, I've undone everything. So I think it's just really important to to just, consider those things, right?
Yeah, but I also it's important to understand, because every time people hear the word diet, at least it's happened to me, when they hear the word diet, straight away they think about something very restrictive. If you jump on a diet, you're gonna be eating lettuce and tomatoes and chicken and nothing else, or you're gonna be eating like small portions and you're gonna be starving yourself. But diet, we all follow a diet, whether you follow a healthy diet or whether you're eating McDonald's every single day, that's your diet. So diet doesn't mean that you're consuming less calories, or it doesn't mean that you're in a caloric deficit. It's just the way that you eat. So every single person, every single human in this world follows a diet. Obviously, it's your choice which diet you follow. If you want to follow a Western diet, if you want to follow a paleo diet, if you want to follow a keto diet, that's up to you. But we all follow a diet. So I think it's important to understand that concept, because I think that word has such a bad reputation. And obviously, it's very obvious why, but it has such a bad reputation. So number one thing to keep in mind is diet. We all have one. The second thing I think is important to understand is that whenever we start to change the way that we eat, whenever we start making better choices with our diet, with the things that we put into our body, with the training that we start doing, maybe you start going for walks, maybe you start with your resistance training, the changes that happen to your body, we first get the internal changes. And that's why you don't drop fat straight away, or you don't gain muscle straight away. It's because the changes need to happen internally first before it starts showing externally. And I think that's the reason why once people get the results, or if they don't get the results after 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, they get so desperate and they get so frustrated, and then they stop with the diet because they're like, what's the point? Like, this is not working. And, I'm putting so much time and effort into my training, into my meal plan, cooking my meals, and making my salads every single day. I'm not just seeing changes, but it's because the changes are happening, but you're not seeing the changes just yet. It's all the internal changes, your cells, the mitochondria, the energy cells, like everything is happening internally, and then it's going to show externally. And there's like different phases that we go through when we start with the fitness journey. We have the initial phase, which is like the initial adaptations, your body getting better with physical, psychological things. Like by this, I mean, sorry, physiological, not psychological, physiological things. So you have more cardiovascular endurance, you have cardiovascular efficiency, you have more muscular endurance, which means you're going to get stronger. Your body's able to maybe last a little bit longer when you go for a walk or when you go for a run, those little things. And then you start getting more your strength and your endurance. You're able to lift heavier weights. You're able to push yourself a little bit more at the gym, a little bit more when you are going for that run or going for that walk. Then we have the body composition changes, which happens months and years after you start with your fitness journey. It doesn't happen after just 1 week. It happens after. It can be 3 months, it can be 2 months, it can be 4 months. We're all different. So it's not like an exact number. And then we have the visible transformation, which is when you start getting like really nice and defined shoulders, if that's your goal, or really nice and defined core, legs, whatever your goal is, but that takes months and years. And I think that's why changing that mindset of the diet mindset and making it more like something that's long-term sustainable, it's going to ensure that you get to that last stage of that visible transformation, and you don't quit after just a few weeks or after just few months. Yeah, it's all about that. But what do you think about the word diet? Like when you hear the word diet, or maybe when your clients come to you and they're like, I don't want to follow this diet, or I've been too restricted, like what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think, again, similar to you, when we think of the word diet, it's what we consume. So it could be, I know it sounds completely off topic, but a diet of the people that you keep around you, a diet of the TV that you watch, or the things that you consume. It's something that you follow, right? But when we're thinking about dieting, like a culture of weight loss, that's usually where it's thrown around. And yeah, so I think, again, it really depends on the context, doesn't it?
That's a good point.
Yeah. And yeah, so I guess I also, coming back to you again, like, what would you say that are some like good strategies that people need to focus on if they are, let's say they are on a weight loss journey and it is a long-term diet? What sort of things would you say to someone who's like struggling and they are in that situation where they are like yo-yoing, they get to a point and then they just step back and they give up, and they, their commitment fails and their motivation goes, because things are always easier in the beginning, right? And as time goes on, it can get really sticky and really difficult. So what are your sort of tips for that?
Yeah, I've got a few tips, but I think the first one, and I think the reason why that motivation drops, I see this all the time with my clients. They get so excited at the beginning when they get started. And then after a few weeks, you see that motivation going from all the way up here to literally down here. And the reason why that happens is because when we start with the journey, again, we have this high expectation of like, I'm going to drop to Spotify, like finally I'm going to make these changes. And we have this image in our head of how we want our body to look. Let's just say, for example, I really want to have a nice six-pack. I really want to have some really nice defined shoulders, really big glutes, and defined quads. Let's just say that's my goal. And then when they get started, they're like, yeah, I want to achieve that. I want to achieve that. And after 4 weeks, they don't see that. They don't see the defined shoulders just yet. They don't see the big glutes just yet. They don't see the abs just yet. And they get very demotivated. So I think the first tip I will say to you guys to change that mindset from diet to making this more like a long-term thing, it's just being very realistic with your expectations. Because I feel like we have very, 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 and I say we because I include myself, when I started with my journey, my expectations were like up here, literally up here. And we have very unrealistic expectations. And that's why we get disappointed after 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, I don't know, a very short period of time, because we think of something. And when we don't see that image, we get frustrated. And then that's why we go back to square one. And I think also understanding that, like I said before, like we are making changes internally first and then externally. But it's so easy to be blinded or to put something in our eyes. So every time we see ourselves in the mirror, even though we're making changes, we don't see the changes because we're so fixated on, I want to have that six pack. I want to have those shoulders. I want to have the big glutes. I want to have the defined quads. And even though you're making changes, you just don't want to see them. Not because they're not there, but because you're blocking your eyes with that image of yourself of how you want to look. So yeah, I will say my first and biggest tip, let's be more realistic with our changes. Let's be more realistic, because the more unrealistic you are, the more impatient you're going to get, and the easier it's going to be for you to go back to that cycle and then repeat and then go back to that yo-yo diet. Get disappointed, get frustrated, stop for a little bit and then start again, and all the cycle starts. So let's try to be more realistic, because if you keep doing what you were doing before, you're going to keep getting the same results that you were getting before. So yeah, the first thing will be realistic.
And you know
What's
what? I was
Yeah.
going to say, with you saying being realistic, we live in a world, Daniela, where everything is fast, 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 now, now, now. And I think people who need to reel it back, and you need to take it back and actually accept that this is a journey and it takes time and it will happen. Change happens with consistency. Change happens with doing the boring stuff every single day. And, it doesn't happen within that short space of time that people often look for. And I think, Daniela, this is where we might be seeing a surgence of people running towards things like these fat dissolving, and there's a new one. I think it's called Lemon Bottle.
What?
I know. I don't know if I truly understand that, but
Yeah.
they inject something and apparently it needs to go. But that doesn't even make sense in the world of physics, right? It just doesn't make sense. Like, energy is neither, gosh, am I going to get this wrong? Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's transferred.
Yeah.
Is that right?
You got it right.
Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. I'll take that then. So yeah, energy has to go somewhere, right? And if you've got fat, it has to go somewhere. It doesn't just get sucked up and vanish with a syringe. It needs to be utilized in some way, right? And the body will use stored energy. So it's not like you can take this energy and suddenly make it go away with a couple of injections. And I mean, again, I don't know the full science behind it. There might be something there. It could be a placebo. But if you have a look at the small print of any of this stuff, Daniela, it'd be really interesting. They'll say we'll get rid of the fat from your belly in 8 weeks. Read the small print and it will say, because I did actually look this up, right, a while back. After your treatment, it's important that you have water. It's important that you follow a healthful diet. And it's important that you continue moving to help it work. So that to me almost sounds like a placebo in itself, right? And these treatments are not cheap.
They're not cheap. Yeah,
£300 for a shot in the belly, and then it's repeated again. And what does it do for up here when because that's the thing, Daniela. I think when we think about fitness, and yes, things take time, consistency, they take habit building, you've got to be realistic, it's a journey. What I think people can fail to realize is that we are laying down the foundations for later life as well. Although you
Yes.
might get rid of the fat with a magic surgery or injection, what are you doing for your body in order to make sure that when you are 70, 80, 90, 100, that you are strong, that you have nourished yourself fully, that you can grow lovely hair, your skin is got elasticity, you feel vibrant, you've delayed the onset of any of these other diseases and things, right? Because it's a holistic vibe, the food that we eat and the way that we nourish ourselves as well is not just for weight loss. That could be an effect, but it's actually going to stop things like, the cardiovascular diseases and the diabetes and all these other horrible things that can take place. It's going to help prevent them. It's not going to cure you, but it's going to help delay and prevent those issues from occurring. It's an investment in your long-term health. It's not a magic pill. It's not a special tea, and it's not an injection.
Yeah, and I think like that's what people don't understand. Like even if you do the 6 weeks, 8 week challenges, or even if you do those treatments are crazy expensive and like people literally waste their money on that. You need to follow up with the treatments if you want those results to be forever. You need to follow up with those challenges if you want the results to be forever. And my point is like once you lose that diet, you have to keep eating the same way that you are eating if you want to get the same results. You have to keep training the same way you are training if you want to sustain those results. Because if you go back to your old habits, your body's gonna go back to the old way that you were looking. So the same way that you got there to that end goal, you have to sustain the same changes and the same habits and continue that for the rest of your life. And that's why we keep telling you guys over and over and over again. Like whenever you do quick fixes, yes, they do work, but are you gonna be able to sustain those changes? Sorry, for the rest of your life? Are you gonna be able to keep up with those changes forever? I don't think so. And that reminds me of my friend. I think it was last year or the year before. He told me like I really want to get this is all the treatment. I don't know what's the name, but they pretty much like freeze your body fat around your belly. I don't know how. I know nothing about it. All I know is that he told me, yeah, there's this treatment. I really want to freeze my body fat. They do something to your tummy, and then you see like amazing results. And you see like your belly fat goes from this to, really nice and tight. And I was like, okay, and how much is that? And he's like, yeah, it's this much money. And I was like, so you're telling me you're going to spend that much money on a treatment that, yes, it's going to work and it's going to last you probably a few days or even a few hours, and then you're going to go back to normal. He's like, yeah, like it works, it works. Like I've seen pictures before and after. I was like, obviously it works because they're going to put pictures of someone that actually worked for them and they want to sell you the product. So yes, it does work for a little bit, but it doesn't work forever. And I was like, why don't you try to change the way that you eat? Why instead of you wasting your money on those things, even if you have all the money in the world, why don't you change the way that you eat? And he's like, no, diets are boring. Like I don't want to follow a diet. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And I was like, okay, so you are willing to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a treatment that is going to last you literally a few days, but you're not willing to change the way that you eat. You're not willing to invest money on foods that are going to fuel your body. You're not willing to invest time on doing exercises, moving your body, going to the gym, going for a run, or doing whatever you want. And I was like, do you see what you're doing to yourself? Like, you want the quick fix, you want the easy solution, but you don't want to put in the work. So how do you expect your body to change long term? How do you expect to be healthy long term? How do you expect you're gonna be, how do you think you're gonna look or be when you're 70, 80, 90?
You know
People
what?
just, yeah.
I was going to say, but by doing all the running and the exercising and the moving, you cannot beat the feeling that you get from it.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot beat that sort of endorphin release, right? From doing something, and actually that sense of achievement from being able to do something, right?
Yeah.
Feeling strong. I don't think there's anything being able to go, do you know what? Wow. My lungs can take me, my body can move me, and I can run that bit faster or further or go for longer. I can, even as simple as I can carry my own shopping bags to the car and
Yeah.
lift it all out, and I've got the endurance to actually go on this really nice long hike or this walk, or I can work all day and have enough energy to just go out and enjoy myself after this. it's just, yeah,
Mm.
those are the things you cannot, you know, do with the quick fixes. You won't achieve those things.
Yeah, and like you say earlier, you were like, we're so used to getting everything done so quick that we expect the same with our results with our fitness. And I think that's why people are willing to waste their money on things like that, on treatments like that, because they want the quick fixes. People don't want to do the work. People don't want to put in the work, invest the hours, put in the effort in the kitchen, cooking a little bit. It doesn't even take too long, but I know it's a mindset thing. And I think it's a mindset thing because we see it over and over again that we think that we need to suffer if we want to see changes. We think that we need to deprive ourselves from many things or from socializing if we want to see changes. We think that we need to remove so many things from our life if we want to see changes. But it doesn't have to be like that. It can be like that, make it like that, yes, but it doesn't have to be like that. And that's what we are all about, making a small, tiny little changes, a small, tiny, sustainable changes. That way you're changing something slowly. Yes, it's going to take longer for sure, but you want to ensure that you change your habits because it's all about habits. It's all about how you think. It's all about the things that you do on a daily basis. It's all about how you feel and how you think. So if we start by changing those little things, then it's going to become easier and easier and easier and easier. And then long term, you're going to be able to see those visible changes. Your shoulders, your tummy, again, whatever goals you have, but it's all about those baby steps on a daily basis. And I think also being like mindful with your food, like with the things that you eat. I think nowadays we're not really mindful with what we put into our body. One, it can be maybe because we think eating healthy is too expensive. Maybe because we want something that's nice and quick, quick fixes, or something that doesn't require us to cook, just something that's like prepackaged, eat it, put in your mouth, that's done. We want something that is yummy. We want something that is tasty. And including those things every now and then is fine. But what about your health? What about your digestion? What about your gut health? What about, there's so many things to think about. So it's like we have to be a little more mindful with the things that we put into our body, not just the food, but also the liquids. So like the alcohol, how much are we drinking? How much fizzy drinks we're consuming? How much, those like high sugar fruit juices, beverages are we consuming? So all the little things that add up. So I think, my other tip will be like, let's be more mindful with what we're putting into our body. And also even like vaping and smoking. I feel like vaping is becoming so popular nowadays. Like I see little kids, like literally little kids vaping. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing to yourself? Like you look like 10 and you're already like using that thing.
We don't know the long-term effects of vaping. Do you know that? We don't know that. We know the long-term effects of smoking. We know the effects of vaping on long-term smokers, but we don't know the effects of vaping on people that have never smoked and children. And that's the thing that we will hear more about in the next 10 years, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I feel like, the effects are going to be, I don't know, but I'm just assuming it's going to be the same as smoking a cigarette. Because, what's the benefit of doing that? I don't think it's going to be anything positive. I think it's going to be maybe some respiratory issues, some problems with your lungs, some problems with your nostrils, some problems with just your health. Whatever, toxic thing you put into your body, that's never a positive outcome. It's always going to be something negative. Yeah, it's honestly, it's sad. I just so many little kids at the bus stop, going home, and it's like, what are you doing to yourself? Or even parents like smoking in front of their kids, and then you understand why those kids smoke because they do whatever their parents are doing. And I'm like, what example are you giving your child?
Yeah, interesting.
Like, you gotta think, yeah.
And I think that's interesting about even with fitness or anything, when children see what their parents are into and what they do, and quite often they copy. So I think, if you are a parent, being physically active is so important. It goes beyond it being something selfish for you. You're teaching your children a good way of life, and you're teaching them that actually exercising is normal, and it's not about diets. You're not exercising to diet. Like that's not why it happens. We're exercising because we have bodies and we ought to move, and that's why we were we've got all these abilities, you know?
Yeah. And I think, yes, sometimes if your motivation it's not enough. And by this, I mean, like, if you're not motivated enough to get started with your journey and you're someone who has kids, look at your children and be like, how do I want my children to be when they grow? Do I want them to be smoking and drinking, or do I want them to be more mindful of what they're eating, more mindful with the exercises? Because whatever you're doing, you're teaching them. So if you're someone who's not active, if you're someone who's not looking after yourself, if you're someone who's drinking and smoking, I can guarantee your children are going to be copy and paste of you. They're going to do exactly the same. So if you are not using yourself as your own motivation, use your children as your motivation. And not only obviously use them, but I think you get my point. Like, let them be your motivation to help you get started with your journey. Because again, like Richard said, whatever you do, they're gonna copy exactly what you do. So start doing that exercise, start being more mindful with your eating, and start prepping your meals. I don't know why people have something about prepping meals. I don't know if it's laziness, I don't know if it's
So
time.
easy.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be difficult. It's only difficult if you make it difficult. You don't have to cook fancy meals. You don't have to have expensive ingredients like fresh salmon and asparagus and this and that. It doesn't have to be like that. You can make it nice and simple. We can make it work with the things that you have. If you can only eat rice and tuna, rice and chicken, we can make it work. It's all about the things that you have, making it work. And it's all about, like, if you truly want to make it work, you will make it work. But if you don't, you will make the excuses.
Yeah.
And you will simply do nothing about it. But what's something else you will suggest to, like, help them change that mindset from, like, short-term to long-term mindset to help them with the fitness goals?
I would say thinking about other goals, like mini goals, I think are really important. So, if they are on a longer journey and they are changing their physique in some way, I think having mini goals that are not based around the way that you look are very helpful. So they could be, you could plug things in the diary and say, do you know what? I want to go and do X hike in August. And now in order to do that, I need to get my physical fitness up. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I'm strength training to help my legs get nice and strong. I'm going to be adding in my cardiovascular training to help improve my endurance and my lung capacity. There's going to be various different things that sort of change, that there are crossovers. So if you are on a longer journey, they're just things that help make things exciting. I gave myself my own challenge recently, Daniela. I gave myself a challenge of getting 5 pull-ups,
Oh, yes, yeah.
proper pull-ups, that I achieved them. So I put that date in and I went, right, that's what I want to now. And yeah, they just make you feel excited. Maybe you've got like a deadlift goal and you want to be able to deadlift because you've never done it before, going in and learning their technique. And I think even beyond that, it doesn't have to be, gym based. It could be sport. It could be learning a skill as well.
Yeah.
Something non-fitness based as well is quite a nice goal. Like you might want to suddenly take up, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a non-fitness thing. Crochet.
Maybe like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've got a couple of clients that are like really into that. So you might want to do that. And actually knowing that also, I found for some of my clients, they love it because it feels like a reward. Having got through the end of the day and curling up, sitting down, spending time on this art form, and maybe, yeah, indulging in some Netflix whilst doing so. But they look at that as their reward for, do you know what? I'm going to get through. I've got to tick the boxes. I've got to stay consistent. I've got work. I've got meal prep. I've got my training. I've got my socializing. I've got all these things I've got to stay on top of. But at the end of that week or on that day or whatever it is, I'm going to sit down and relax and do this. And it's not centered around alcohol, and it's not centered around gorging on rich foods, because quite often that's another thing that people can look at as well as a reward. So I just think, yeah, just thinking about things, thinking outside the box and picking up new habits and new skills and new hobbies, and, maybe even like meeting people as well, going out and meeting other people. Like, these all build into who you are and who you're becoming as you change on your journey.
Yeah.
And you'll find as well that when you go on a journey, you'll start to form different friendship groups. You'll meet new people. You'll make friends in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
You'll meet your partner in the gym.
Mm-hmm. It happens so many times. I
It
know so many
does.
people, yeah, that make their partners, now husbands, at the gym.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a journey in itself. So I think that's another thing, is just sort of thinking outside the box when it comes to those goals.
Yeah, I think, yeah, like you said, like mainly like changing those habits. And I think something also interesting that you mentioned, it's that you start meeting new people in this journey because you don't change completely, but because you start making different decisions, whether it's with your training, with the things that you eat, and maybe you decrease your alcohol so you don't want to be going out drinking too much. And you kind of change your friendships a little bit, which I think it's a good thing. You don't I feel like people have this mindset that, okay, these girls are my friends. I have to be friends with them forever.
Hmm.
And it's like, no, you don't have to. Obviously, if it's a good friendship, yes, keep that friendship. But if you feel like that friendship is not helping you and it's not being useful for you, I don't see what's the point of keeping something. Maybe you're just keeping it because it makes you feel comfortable because you know those girls or those people and you just like that environment. But if they're not helping you or their goals don't align with your goals, just think about it properly. Because I know so many people that once they started with the fitness journey, they don't want to drink anymore. They don't want to go out partying anymore. They don't want to go out, doing the things, smoking anymore. And that's a good thing. But every single time they go and see their friends are doing that. Their friends are drinking, their friends are smoking, and their friends are pushing them to do something they don't want to do. So I'm like, okay, it's up to you to put your boundaries and making sure you say no if you don't want to drink or smoke. And also think about, like, do you want to keep hanging out with those friends? Like, do you want to keep being in that environment that they're going to push you every single time you go see them, every single time you're with them? If it was me, I wouldn't do it just
Yeah.
because I want to be in an environment that I don't feel comfortable in, and I don't want to be pushed by someone to do something I don't want to do. Like, if I tell you no, it's no. Why you keep pushing me? Obviously, you're not respecting my boundaries, so why you keep pushing? Like, yeah, I think just having some like self-respect as well, it will help you with that. But I was gonna say another tip I was gonna give you guys to help you change that long-term mindset. It's just being more patient. And I know, like, saying this, it's like be more patient, but it literally is so true. Like, if you're not being patient, you're never gonna be happy with the results that you're getting, and you're never gonna be able to get that long-term goal, to achieve that long-term goal, and to get exactly where you want to get. And I think a really good analogy that I can give you, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Chinese bamboo tree. But if we have, let's say, like a seed right now, and we want to plant the Chinese bamboo tree, we put it, we put the seed in the soil, we water, we take care of it. This plant takes years and years to grow. So you
Wow.
look after the first year, you don't see anything. After the second year, you don't see anything. Like, visually, exchange externally, you don't see anything. After the third year, you don't see anything. After the fourth year, you don't see anything. So you will think, like, what the hell, what's going on? I'm looking after this plant, nothing is happening. I'm watering this plant, I'm doing everything that I have to do, nothing is happening. And then on year number 5, that plant grows. It looks like it goes from 0 to 100. Like, it grows, I think, around like 25 meters tall only after 5 years. And
Wow.
that's not yeah, but that's not because the plant was never growing. The plant was growing, but it was growing internally. It was only after the 5 years that it grew externally and that you saw the changes. And then you saw the plant growing so quick, so fast. And it's kind of like, the overnight success. People put in the work for so many years and they do the work, they grow internally, but they don't see the results until 2 years later, or maybe 3 or 4. Everyone's different, 5 or 6, or 1 year. But I think it's a good analogy to show you that changes take time. Nothing is going to happen overnight. Nothing is going to change overnight. Those changes are happening. You're changing internally, but those changes will reflect externally in a few months or years, or whenever it's meant to show. But just be patient, because if you're not being patient, you will just never see the change that you want to see. And you just have to practice. Patience, it's a skill that you just have to practice every single day. Like just like how you put in the work at the gym or with your meal prep or with your mindset or whatever, you also have to practice being patient. Whenever you find yourself being like, oh my gosh, I want to see the results, I want to see the changes, just breathe and remind yourself, I'm putting in the work. I want to see the changes. Not now, but I will see those changes. As long as I don't stop, as long as I don't give up on myself, I will get there sooner or later, but I will get there.
Yeah, you
What's
will.
another tip? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have tips that you think is
Well,
going to be useful?
I kind of almost want to like backtrack as well slightly about the people, right? And how your friendships changes. The company that you keep is a reflection of who you are, right?
Mm,
So who you are, the people around you, you are literally a mixture of the 5 people
yeah,
that you hang around with. So I think that's
yeah.
just something really interesting and something to be mindful of. Yeah, and yeah, just cut out the bullshit, cut out the how hard as it sounds, but cut out the people that moan and they don't add value to your life as well, Another thing that I don't know if you've ever experienced, Daniela, but I have. But when I've been through various different stages of my fitness journey, and maybe people have known me where I've been curvier and bigger and obviously very happy in that as well, but I've changed and become leaner and more toned. I have had people comment, people that I thought were my friends, and said, I don't like this look on you. This doesn't look good.
Really?
Yeah. Like, what is it to you? What is it to you if I have chosen to work on myself and as a result I've got a different aesthetic? It shouldn't matter. But yeah, some people maybe that's what they like. I don't know. And it's but to add their opinion, is it that
Mm,
they've seen growth in me and they don't like that, and it's something beyond the physical, and it's more like, actually you've changed who you are, and I don't like this. You're not fun and drinking and you know rolling on the floor or whatever drunk people do.
yeah, I feel like when people say that, whenever
Mm,
they give you those comments, it's more like an insecurity of them. It has
maybe.
nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you because you're growing as a person, you're getting better, you're doing better. But if they see that right now, maybe they feel like you're here and they feel like they're down here, obviously that makes them feel very insecure. And your presence maybe makes them feel very intimidated. And that's why they tell you those things like, you're so boring. You don't drink with us anymore. You don't do this anymore. I don't like the way you look. And yeah, so again, that's why you have to be so careful with your friendships. You have to be so careful with the people that you allow in your life, because exactly how you mentioned, you are exactly the person. No, how do you say, how do you put it together? Like you are surrounded,
You are a reflection of the
reflection.
people that you
Yeah,
surround yourself with.
exactly. You are a
Yeah.
reflection, and that's 100% true. You are the reflection. Like look around your friends. Like who are your 5 closest friends, or the 3 people that are closest to you? Like
That
are
you
you
hang
like
around
them?
with. Yeah. Even
Exactly.
colleagues at work. um I wanted to give a tip.
Yeah.
And it was, again, it comes back to people as well, but seeking support as well within your journey, finding other people that are on the same journey as you. Maybe even telling your partner or your friends. Having others that are on the same journey are going to help you stick to the process, stick to the plan. They're going to be helping you with consistency, especially going for that sort of long-term success. And yeah, they're just going to help you when you do go out and you enjoy yourselves. You're going to be making different choices based on who you hang around with. So I think it's really important to share that journey with others, and yeah, have the right guidance. Don't follow something that you saw on TikTok or Instagram because it looked cool and it was endorsed by some celebrity or some influencer, wrapping yourself in cling film and God knows what, and then eating only juice fast or something bizarre. Yeah, just be realistic and look for a coach as well, to help, a mentor to help guide you on that journey, someone that that aligns with you and your beliefs, and also that you can learn a thing or two of, that can support you on this journey, that can remind you about this journey, remind you how much it means to you as well, to get that success, hold you accountable, and do it in a way that, you know, fits your lifestyle as well, and it's not something that's unrealistic. So yeah, I guess it's kind of touching on all those tips that you've kind of touched on or shared already, Daniela.
Yeah, and I quickly want to mention something about maybe people you find on TikTok. I feel like especially TikTok or like Instagram, you see so many girls saying like manifestation, like manifest your dream life, or do this. This is how you can make 10K a month. This is how you can make 1 million a year. I don't know. But it's like, okay, are those people, you know, maybe they had their moment of success, which is great, but do they have the experience? Like, do they have the knowledge? Because I feel like people nowadays are like rushing so much into coaching people after they are successful with their business, for example, or with a fitness journey. They feel like they have the knowledge, they have the tools, and straight away they want to become a mindset coach, they want to become a fitness coach, they want to become a business coach. But it's like, okay, you know, it's good that you're doing well, that's amazing, but how long have you been doing this for? Like, do you actually have the experience to teach people? Do you actually have the patience to teach people? Do you actually have the right tools to guide someone in this journey? Because just because you are successful, it doesn't mean you can straight away become a coach. It takes time and months and years of experience and practice doing things for yourself. Like you being the guinea pig, you going through all these failures, you trying all these different things, you working with different people. It's years and months of experience. So whenever you work in education, yeah, of course. But whenever you work, which no, it's a good point. Like education, it's so big that you cannot just work with someone just because they lost that weight and it worked for them. Just because it worked for them, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Remember, we are all different individuals. We all have different body types. We all have different mindsets. So we have to make sure that when you work with that coach or with that person, there's someone that have the knowledge, they have the experience, they have the years of experience, not just 1 month of experience, and they have the attitude to help you. They just don't want the money. They truly want to help you succeed in this fitness journey. But yeah, I think we gave you guys quite a few tips to help you change your mindset. You know, it's all about patience. It's all about finding the right person to help you. It's all about your friendships, who you surround yourself with. It's all about changing that terminology of diet and, you know, understanding that diet, we all follow a diet. It's just how you eat, you know, how you treat your body, how you treat your mind, how you treat everything. So just be aware and try to apply, you know, the tips that are more useful for you. Take even just one tip. You don't have to apply all at once, but take something that you feel it's going to be easier for you to start applying and start doing the work. You know, don't just listen to this podcast and then, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, nice tips and goodbye. Like actually take something away from this. That's the main reason. That's the reason why we do this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking here and sharing with you guys all this knowledge, all the experience and all the things that we're doing with you guys. But is there anything else you want to mention before we go?
Just to touch on, you know, picking, you know, the right coach or mentor, and not just somebody that's offering a really, you know, they've done this couple of months and that's it. Daniela and I, between us, I'm sure there's decades and decades of education, of experience working with people, working in different environments, working in different practices of fitness, health, nutrition as well. It's not just been one size and one journey and that's it. It's been working with a multiple different types or multitude of different personalities as well. And I think that's really important, that when you are picking someone, that there is that maturity that comes with it, and that's that maturity with growing within the industry that they work in. It's not because they woke up one day and thought, this is fun, this is a cool way of doing things, I want to do this. That's not what it's about. Daniela and I are really very connected to our causes. We're very connected to helping people. We've got missions of, you know, helping women, helping people get through a place where maybe we've been ourselves in the past, or we've helped others come out of. But yeah, just, that's the main thing for me.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
think about it before you do something. I think that's the main key point, the main message here. Like think about before you invest your money, and think about who you want to work with, because you're gonna be working with that person for a long term, not just 6 weeks or 8 weeks. There's gonna be a long-term commitment that you're making with that person, with that coach. But thank you so much, guys, for listening or watching this podcast. Remember, whatever you find useful, please start applying those tips or that tip today. If you want to start changing your mindset, if you want to start changing your lifestyle, and if you want to become that person that you want to become, if you like this episode, help us spread the message and share this on your social media. Tag me and Richu. Tag me at Daniella Del Carpio and Richu at Richu Bar. That's RECHUBR. No, BRAB. No, I think I got it wrong. I got
That's
it
all
so
right.
wrong. Can you tell us your
RICHUBRAR.
exactly? Until next time, and as I always say, don't ever stop believing in yourself. Ciao.